how do we recognize, what are some warning signs that, you might be either coming on too strong or love bombing? Thank you for tuning into Second Act TV. Want to welcome back Sandy Weiner, the founder of Last First Date and the author of Choice Points in Dating. Thanks for being here again, Sandy.
Great to be back, Silka.
Today, we have a topic I think is super important. When you first meet someone and they offer a whole lot of attention, are they just coming on too strong, or is it love bombing? Let's talk about the difference. And incidentally, this applies to both men and women, though I think, and I'll ask you, that men tend to do this more than women.
In my experience, men have done it more than women.
Mm-hmm.
And so love bombing is more manipulation.
Mm-hmm.
It's maybe they're narcissistic and they want to manipulate you. They want to win you over. And so they start with all of this. Oh my God, you're the most beautiful person in the world. And here's some gifts. And let me take you to this amazing place and treat you like a queen. And then they disappear or it gets faded out because they've gotten that kind of hit that they were looking for. And now it's no longer interesting to them because they won you over. So there's a difference between love bombing and somebody who's coming on strong, but it might be something that you actually could work with, right?
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of people are turned off by people who come on too strong and they're like, oh my God, I don't know what to do. So that's what we're going to talk about.
I so remember this also when I first started dating. One of my very, very first, when you come out of a relationship or out of a bad marriage, haven't been on the dating scene for a while, and I'm addressing our audience here, and somebody gives you attention, this incredible over the top attention. It's like, wow, they must really love me. And I mean, I remember telling my sister, wow, there's just no doubt here at all that this guy is really into me. Well, a week later it was over. But that's why this is important, because especially if it leans towards a narcissistic trait, you may be on the verge of a toxic relationship. So again, going back to coming on too strong or love bombing, why do people do this?
So a lot of times people want to win you over because they're insecure. They think that if I get this win, that I'm going to feel better about myself. It really has very little to do with you.
Mm-hmm.
Or they could be trying to fill an emotional void, that they want attention. Maybe they didn't get enough attention as a kid, who knows? You were talking about attention, like we get attention, it's intoxicating.
Right.
And the problem is that this type of extreme behavior can feel like you're not really being seen. You are being projected upon. And so I remember even when I met my husband, he came on like this, and I knew he was looking to get married. He had been just going from woman to woman saying, will you marry me? And I was the one who said yes. And I remember feeling like, you barely know me. Like I did not feel seen, but I didn't know how to articulate that. Like we hit it off. We had a lot of things in common. He was a lot of fun to be with, but we didn't know each other well enough for him to be so much in my life. And I didn't have the skills at the time to slow things down, I tried to, like, he wanted to get engaged after 6 weeks. I think I pushed it off 2 weeks. I was really good at setting limits at the time.
Yeah. Thank you for admitting that. So even Sandy does this. Would you have known, if you know what you know today, then would you have chosen your ex-husband? That may not be fair, but it's an interesting question.
I definitely would not have chosen him. I don't regret choosing him. I don't think I'd be a dating coach and a relationship coach had I not gone through that experience.
Right.
But we all have to go through stuff. I mean, I think when you look back at times that you tolerated certain behaviors, you realize a lot of times you had like a little gut feeling. You had this inkling that something was off, but you didn't know how to name it. And so you just kind of dismissed it. Maybe I was too sensitive. Maybe I was wrong. And now I know better, and so I do better. And that's what we hope in this channel, that
Right.
people who are listening are learning these skills, because we
Hmm.
all have to start somewhere.
Right.
And it can
Right.
be painful to go through hard relationships. I mean, just knowing these skills and knowing this information will help us make better choices.
Absolutely. And that's why I do like our segments with all the words, the ghosting and love bombing, and but it's all like existed, but now it's so much more out there, so much more prevalent because of social media, that love bombing is so intensified simply by that. Well, let's talk about how do we recognize, what are some warning signs that you might be either coming on too strong or love bombing.
Yeah, so a lot of times, especially if you're meeting online, somebody is just texting you like crazy,
Mm,
or telling you that you are the one, or texting you, calling, wanting to call you, wanting to lock it down, wanting to get you on a date
mm,
right away. You haven't even responded to a text, and they write again, and are you there? I can't wait
yeah.
to meet you. It's that kind of anxiety. It's like,
Yeah.
yikes.
Yeah, that would run you off right away. But the too much. So if you're doing that, or if that's being done to you, I think when we do it unintentionally, especially, it's almost like being like showing someone how much you care or how much you want to be with them. I mean, it can be very innocent, but it's a turn off, either coming on too strong, or it is an indication of something coming down the road, something,
Mhm.
some insecurity or anxiousness. Too much praise too soon. Let's talk about that.
Yeah, people who say you're the most amazing person in the world, you're gorgeous, I've never met anybody like you, you're the one. I mean, I had a boyfriend many years ago. On the second date, he told me I was the one. And I'm like, what? How do you know that? And he kept saying it over and over. And obviously, I wasn't the one, because I broke up with him a couple months later. But it was just like, on the one hand, it was really sweet. Like he falls fast for women. On the
Mm-hmm.
other hand, it was like, meow,
Yeah.
meow.
You reminded me of one of the dates I had. I had one date with this guy. He seemed like I met him. It was actually at a bar, but it was kind of a hangout for older people then, and he seemed like really fun. And anyway, made a date. The date would end up being just horrible, absolutely horrible. I had no intention of ever going out with him again. But then he kept calling and calling. No, I already told my mother I'm falling in love with you. I mean, it was really like,
Yikes.
yeah, get away from me. So that was definitely love bombing. I can recognize that now. And I think maybe you recognize it more also if you're not interested. But if you are interested in this person and you get that sort of treatment, that's what can drag you down the wrong road, right?
Right. But so the more confidence you have, and I would say with that guy, it wasn't necessarily love bombing. He could just be the kind of person who does fall quickly,
Mm-hmm.
and then like the next thing that I wrote was planning a future before there is one. He's already telling his mother
Yes.
about you, he's
Yeah.
planning his future, but he doesn't know you. And so it's scary
Yeah.
because it's not reality. It's
Mm-hmm.
he's living on another planet. And it might be he's just clueless. I mean, I've definitely met people, I've worked with people who are new at dating, and they write too much, they share too much.
Mm-hmm.
They don't realize that you have to build trust, but that
Mm-hmm.
comes with experience. And so
Yeah.
if you're already sharing like your deepest, darkest secrets,
Mm.
you're not love bombing, you're just coming on too strong. You're
Okay.
sharing, you're oversharing, and that can scare somebody off.
Yeah, absolutely. Your fourth point here, Sandy, too sexual too soon. That's a tough one to manage sometimes as well, because some people want sex, even the women right away, but that's not a good idea.
Well, no, I'm saying it's too sexual for you. Like, so let's people have different timelines and they have
Hmm.
different libidos and they have different needs and they may be looking for different things. But if
Hmm.
somebody wants sex before you're ready and you say, I'm not ready, but that person starts pushing you
Hmm.
and saying, well, but just a little sex, just a tiny bit. We'll just have it for a half hour. It'll be good. That person
That's so
is
funny.
totally disrespecting boundaries and but they're pushy,
Hmm.
so this is the part of the coming on too strong is, I want the whole thing. I want to know the end of the story before there's a beginning. I'm planning a future before we have one. It's all really unhealthy ways to be, and some people just, that's the way they function. I think in the article I had written about a person who was planning on moving into my house before we even met. And I think back at some of these crazy things that happened, but I think we had a video chat and he said, oh, your bookshelves are too small from all my book collection. And I'm like, excuse me? Say what? But yeah, I mean, and I had a date with a guy once who told me that because we had kissed, we are now exclusive
Mm.
and I needed to shut down my profile. And I was like, we've had two dates. This was our third date. And he was like, exclusivity and
Yeah.
fidelity. And I'm like, I remember that feeling of like you are taking all the air out of my
Yeah.
throat and out of my chest. And when you have that feeling, and that's really a good indicator that
Hmm.
you're feeling like you're suffocating, that
Yeah.
this person is just wanting so much from you and you have not really gotten to know them. So these are all signs that
Yeah.
people are coming on too strong.
Yeah. Well, and I think the message again of this segment is knowing the difference, or just understanding, because there probably isn't any black or white way to now, analyze this as you're going through it. But coming on too strong, and then the love bombing, which is a manipulative behavior that is very common with narcissists. So that's a whole other, red flag there. And then there's people that would say, well, you know what, you're out there looking for love after 50, you're getting all this attention. Why are you complaining about that? What would you say to them?
Attention is not enough. You
Mm-hmm.
need to develop a relationship where it feels healthy. And so I would say that if a person is coming on too strong,
Mm-hmm.
then you first have to define what your own personal boundaries are. What are your personal boundaries? Space, time, and space. What are your
Yeah.
boundaries around sex? What are your boundaries around your relationship goals and how you want to meet them? And are they going to align? You need to define for yourself what works for you. And
Yeah.
then when you have that conversation with the person you're dating who is coming on too strong and
Mm-hmm.
say, hey, listen, I like you, but this is feeling overwhelming to me.
Mm-hmm.
Can we slow this down? I work better in a slow and steady kind of pace.
Yeah.
Or I'm really attracted to you, and there's a part of me that would love to sleep with you now, but that never worked out for me in the past. So I need to have exclusivity, and I'm not ready for that yet.
Mm-hmm.
So how are you, with that boundary?
Yeah.
I think that if we can have these conversations, we'll see if a person is willing to negotiate and willing to say, well, no, I'm sorry, I didn't realize I was coming on so strong. I will slow it down because I think you are really a wonderful person. Then you'll start to feel into the relationship. Do you want to continue with this person? Are
Mm-hmm.
they able to slow down?
Yeah.
Are they truly a healthy person, or are they somebody who's manipulative and toxic to you? You'll be
Yeah.
able to know.
I'm going to offer up one, totally my opinion, but based on what you just
Mhm.
said, I believe, and this is for me, maybe other people wouldn't agree, but if you feel like you have to have that conversation, if I have to sit somebody down to slow them down, or that they're going too fast and they're making me, I'm choking up, that's a flag. That's an internal sign to me that this is not the right person for me.
Mm.
Like if I feel the need to slow down, that's just an exit strategy for me.
I hear that. And
Mm-hmm.
for a lot of people, out there, they'll agree with you.
Mm-hmm.
I think, though, if there are a lot of wonderful qualities in this
Mm-hmm.
person and they just got super excited about you, then
Yeah.
maybe they will be able to slow
Yeah.
down. Maybe you're going to say goodbye to somebody who could be an incredible partner. And so everybody's going to have their own
Hmm.
bandwidth for what they can and can't handle. And so I'm
Yeah.
glad you shared what would be a big red flag for you. But for people who do find that there is a connection, it's happening too fast and they want to slow it down, have those conversations, see
Yeah.
if they can listen, if it actually works. And if it doesn't,
Hmm.
you'll know really quickly and you'll be able to then make an informed decision.
See, you always make so much great sense, Sandy. And I make all these blunder mistakes. That's why we have you here. No, that was beautiful explanation. Well, we're coming to the end of the segment. Anything I didn't ask, or anything you want to add on this topic, on this very important topic?
I would just say that if you're the person who comes on too strong,
Hmm.
it's not always about the other person. Maybe
Right.
you tend to share too much too soon. Maybe you want to have sex
Hmm.
before you're even ready because you feel that that's going to help the person like you more.
Hmm.
Really pause and ask yourself, why am I doing these things? Do I
Hmm.
really want to do these things? Is it, look at the other person's response to you.
Hmm.
And you can always slow your roll, as they say, and really just take a breath, because most good things happen when we really take
Hmm.
that pause and we really just take the time to ask ourselves, is this really working? How is it
Yeah.
working for me? And if it's not working for you, then make those changes, get some support, work with me or a therapist or another coach, but like really get the support you need so that you don't self-sabotage your
Hmm.
relationships.
Yeah. I wish I would have called you Sandy. I wish I would have known you when I first started dating again. I ended up really good on my own, but boy, did
You
I have
did.
boy, did I have some stories to tell. Anyway, Sandy, thank you again. We'll link to all of your information. So if people are lucky enough to get a hold of you directly and get some coaching, and then your book, which is, a self-help guide, it'll take you through a lot of this that we're talking about. Choice points in dating. Thank you, Sandy. We'll see you again soon on Second Act TV.